Hello, Daniel, and hello, everybody. Today, I will interview Daniel Santos, the VP of Digital Manufacturing at SolidCAM and the leader of SolidCAM Latam, Latin America. Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Linda. It's a pleasure to be here.
You started working for SolidCAM only in November last year, and in a very short time, you took on two very serious roles. So, also, I saw on your LinkedIn that you started out as an apprentice in a CNC machine shop. Emil is always very impressed by people who have hands on experience in the machine shop. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey from your previous roles to your current position at SolidCAM?
Yes, that will be an interesting story to share. So first about the two roles. Actually, I was hired to be the VP of Digital Manufacturing to kind of help Emil and the management team to steer Solican towards you know uh, this important change that are happening now in the industry, like more connectivity, automation, and things like that. But then, around early December, Emil made a decision to open a subsidiary in Latin America because of the opportunities we were seeing here. The region has been importing complex machine tools for a consistent number of years, and then we just look at the market and say, well, why we're not kind of focusing more on this, since this market is consuming more complex technology, which is
Right. Also,
perfect for our product line.
you
Yes.
also you live in Brazil, yeah, so that makes sense.
Yes, I live in Brazil. Yeah, after living a few years as an expat abroad, then I'm back to Brazil since last year. So my journey started, I'm a son of a machinist, a conventional
Ah,
machinist. So in my family, it was basically we used to talk about, cutting speeds and materials during the dinner. And that's how I started when I was actually in Brazil. When you are 14, you are eligible to start apprenticeship. So I got enrolled. My mom enrolled me on a technical school. The biggest one we have in the region is called Senai. They cover the whole country,
what
and yeah, so they are also, yeah, they
yeah,
are educational customers from Solicam. But
right.
back then we didn't have like computers like what we have now, right? They were not uh, so common. And so what happened is that I started to work on a mom and pop shop, very small one, literally sweeping floors and doing the work that nobody wanted to do.
Wow.
But after some time, I got an opportunity to work on a conventional lathe, and then the company bought their first CNC machine. They sent me to training. Then after that, I worked on a mom and pop shop too, but bigger, doing aerospace parts and with the 3D surfaces and all that. Then I started writing post processors back then. So it was an evolution. Then I got a job on a very large aerospace company called Liebherr Aerospace, and they sent me to Germany to be trained there on the headquarters. I learned how to use systems like Pro Engineer or Zeiss Calypso, high end stuff back then. So from there, I moved to General Electric Oil and Gas to implement multi-million dollar investment in machine tools, WFL mill turns. So I worked there for almost 5 years. It was a very uh, rich journey for me because I learned that I had the opportunity to work with the best tech in the world and have autonomy to set the direction of the engineering department and train my coworkers towards that goal that we had and drive these complex machines. And then in my previous job, I worked for another oil and gas company. I was hired because of my experience at GE Oil and Gas with the complex mill turn, WFL mill turns, which became an area of specialization for me, mill turns. And then I spent 9 years there, five of them as an expat living in Houston, Texas. And last year I returned, and then After a few months, I left the company, decided to start my own journey. And then Emil made me an offer to join SolidCAM. He had a few projects that he needed external help with, and I joined it. So uh, that's basically the summary of 25 years of career in
Very
manufacturing.
interesting. You have such vast experience. You know, I remember when Emil met you, you were working for this big enterprise that you're talking about. You wanted to replace their standalone non-integrated CAM solution with our Inventor CAM because it was fully integrated into Autodesk Inventor. And they were using it for their 3D CAD. Now, I remember how Emil was impressed at how persistent you were in your demands to SolidCAM. I remember that he used to tell me, "Wow, he has so many demands," and you would not compromise. You said, "This is what I want, and this is what has to be done." And let me tell you something. And Emil, I always say, Emil is an expert at choosing experts. And I think I genuinely believe that you will take SolidCAM with your vast experience and your pursuit of excellence to new heights. Let me
Well,
ask you a question.
hmm
What is digital manufacturing? I'm sorry if this seems like but I can you put it in layman's terms? What is the difference between digital and regular manufacturing?
well, as I was explaining, right, I graduated on technical school in a time where digital manufacturing was distant, a very distant concept. Today is it's there every day. But it all started with because I always have this affinity with IT. So I choose the path of being a machinist like my father because that was the options I had back then. But I always enjoy computers since I am probably 11 years old. So the two things always walked hand in hand in my life. And at some point, I started to I didn't know it back then, and but unknowingly, I was basically forging this career path where IT and manufacturing would merge and blend into each other, and and I think I had a great deal of luck that the market and the industry also moved towards the same direction. So I was basically uh, building the foundations that would allow me to work on this field. So what happened is that I'm a there's a enormous difference between integrated and standalone CAM. So the majority of our competitors they are providing standalone systems that were created in a time where layers and wireframe and lines and circles and splines were the norm. And SolidCAM was basically rebuilt from the scratch in the middle of the 90s to use solids as the primary source of geometry. And this gives us an enormous advantage, but it's very hard to explain sometimes to the layman how many mistakes he avoids or how many benefits he has in an integrated platform. And I always pushed for that when I was in my previous job because they were using standalone systems and we had Inventor, which is a capable 3D platform. Say why we are not uh, you know, uh, using the integration between this CAM system, which was SolidCAM, and our CAD platform, and eliminate these dozens of common mistakes we make every day across the world. I was in charge of 22 manufacturing facilities around the world, and I could see, in a big picture, what kind of problems standalone CAM was creating for us on a global footprint. But pushing the enhancements was just like when the SolidCAM USA team came to Houston for a workshop, a 1 week workshop to work with our team from my previous employer, I noticed that there was a very high level of, how can I say, commitment on that team to pursue excellence, to be the leaders in the market, to be customer driven. And I basically found my, how can I say, I found my gang. So basically I felt that I was among peers in terms of we all want to move the technology forward, and I always had great support from that team and from SolidCAM. So I pushed it because I felt that that team could be pushed and wanted to be pushed. And I also wanted the very best for my employer back then because they badly needed, you know, better technology to avoid the mistakes that were costing us millions of dollars per year around the world. So digital manufacturing is essentially uh, the conversion or the convergence between IT and manufacturing. But there are many ways to put it this way. There are some people call it Industry 4.0. Some people are even calling Industry 5.0. But actually, instead of just explaining what is digital versus analog, I would like to say what it means to SolidCAM as well. So
Okay.
SolidCAM is not, you know, our vision of digital manufacturing. It's we want to have solutions that are solving real problems. Okay, because coming from big corporations, I have seen a lot of efforts that struggled to materialize because they were trying to achieve things that were not really important for the end user, for the operator, for the CNC programmer. In SolidCAM, we have been observing the market for some time and say, what is really helpful? What are the things that can change the results, the outcome, that can move the needle for a manufacturing business, for our average customer? And we realized that many of the things that are being sold as, Industry 4.0 and connectivity, they are too complex. They are not things that the business really want to have. They want to have things that change their ability to program parts faster with less mistakes. They want the ability to measure the utilization of their machines. They want the ability to deliver digital documents in the shop floor so they do not fail on quality audits, or that they can really eliminate errors caused by multiple hard copies of documents in the shop floor. They want to have tools to manage production planning and capacity planning to see if they are using their machines at the fullest. So these are the things that really move the needle to a small and mid-sized and even a large manufacturing business. And the other things they are interesting too, like ERPs and MES and all that stuff. But most small and mid-sized companies are trying to make investments that fit into their pockets, because quite often we have these big solutions and they cost $500,000 to get started. SolidCAM is not trying to reach this audience. This is for different kind of businesses.
Right.
We are trying to solve real life, everyday problems for machine shops and business and manufacturing businesses.
You know,
For
I finally understood the difference. It's like, uh,
Yeah, so for us, that's what digital manufacturing is no, is enabling small and mid-sized manufacturing business and big ones as well, with solutions that solve real problems of the manufacturing shop.
actually, I see that digital manufacturing makes the whole manufacturing process much more
It,
effective,
it,
much more
because
streamlined.
manufacturing is not only about kind of connecting equipment, but also helping you to make better decisions today. Because in the past, many manufacturing managers and business owners, they have to rely on their gut to make a decision like, do I buy this machine tool? Do I make this multi-million dollar investment? Do I grow the business? And all that was basically on Excel spreadsheets, or their feeling, or how much demand they were seeing from their customers, seasonal demand sometimes. And what we are offering now with SolidCAM as a platform are solutions that uh, make you make informed decisions. Like, I'm not basing this on my gut. I have statistical historical data from the last year that tells me I need to buy a new machine tool because I need X amount of hours, extra hours every month to accommodate this demand. So that's what we is digital manufacturing for us, using uh, or practical experience with our customers to deliver solutions that solve real problems, not only these fancy things that we see quite often linked to Industry 4.0.
Ask you something. So, looking ahead about your role as a SOTCAM director, What do you envision the future of digital manufacturing, both globally and in SolidCAM Latin America? Can you make SolidCAM Latam number one in the world?
Well,
Dynamic
the world
region.
is a very big place, so I need to be, humble here about whatever I say. But I can tell you that Latam is a region that historically um, did not receive the best coverage in our industry. Not only Solicam, but when we look even at our competitors, we think that um, the region deserves more in terms of service, in terms of technology. But for Solicam Latam, we are very confident that we are going to be leaders in what matters to us, in what is aligned with our business model, which is driving complex machines, complex technology. So I don't think we will ever be leading numbers of seats and quantities or leader in low prices. No, that's not what we want. We want to have Solicam as the market choice to drive complex machines, complex manufacturing processes. And the very reason why we opened a subsidiary in Brazil recently to cover Latin America is because the need is there. The customers are screaming, I want better technology, I want a better software, I have complex machines that I'm programming by hand. So I feel very confident to say that we can be leaders in what matters to us, which is to be the leader, the kings of advanced manufacturing and drive complex machine tools, regardless how complicated they are. So that's this field. Yes, we can be leaders there.
That that SolidCAM can deal with complex machines, and it's still a very friendly user interface and easy to learn. I think that's a fantastic
Well,
combination.
yeah, I think that it's all about making good choices. So Solcom made good choices from the beginning, in the middle of the 90s, when the company decided to port, our solutions to the Windows environment and build these friendly workflows because they still hold up to date in terms of, you
Definitely.
know, the easiness and the effectiveness of our interface. What happened is that over the years we start to couple new functionalities on the top of this foundation. But since the foundation was built very strongly, very solidly, now we are being able to use, to drive complex machines without losing the sight of the initial goals. And being 100% solid based platform makes an enormous difference in how you drive a complex machine, how you react to engineering change. This is this is something that we do with excellence. I'm very confident.
Even Donnie from the Titans, he said that he was showing one of his videos, and he said that he learned SolidCAM in a weekend. So it
Yeah,
just goes to show you how good this software
because
is.
of that foundation. So good decisions, good design decisions in the software were made like 20, 30 years ago, and they support and they sustain the growth that we are seeing now. Uh, So for the future of digital manufacturing, I don't know what it means to our competitors, but for us, it means that SolidCAM will more and more become a platform for manufacturing instead of being just like one kind of application. We are going to have solutions for DNC, machine monitoring, PDM, um, capacity planning, scheduling, and a few other things that I don't want to say right now. But in the future, our average customer, he will find in our offerings tools that can cover multiple uh, that can solve multiple problems of on a manufacturing operation, and that do not or that are not limited to the scope of CNC programming. So we're gonna literally we're gonna blow the door of the CNC programming office, and we're going to spread across the manufacturing shop in multiple areas, like production planning, supervisioning, document management, quality assurance. We're gonna have a contribution in every critical department or most of the critical departments in the manufacturing business.
Wow. Okay, so let me just ask you another question about this dynamic region that you're in. So I'm sure that you must navigate between diverse marketing and even cultural differences. Can you explain more about that? Do you have like maybe an example of that?
Yeah, the good thing about working on multinationals for almost over 20 years and living 5 years an expat in Houston is that I learned that uh, what makes us different makes us stronger. So, and by supporting like 22 facilities around the world in multiple time zones, multiple idioms, multiple cultures, I learned how to deal and how to embrace diversity, which is really important. So, Latam is a very large territory.
Yeah.
SolidCAM Latam now, for the first time, we have hired people in the commercial team that speaks Spanish fluently. So now we can go after markets like Mexico, and we can simply call someone directly on their phone and have a conversation with them. uh, we also have, I'm proud to say that Latam, I would say that probably 60% of the employees are women, and not
Really?
because they are women, just because they are very qualified. Uh,
Wow.
we we do not have any distinction between pay grades and things like that. Everybody is treated the same way. But we just happened that we found distinguished individuals to start the company, and I would say that 60% of them were women, which
Wow.
help us to cover our blind spots and operate more smoothly as a company. I'm very proud of that as well. So diversity is really very important. More and more, we need to accommodate and embrace people that are different than us. And at Solican Latam, we need to, because if we talk about Brazil or Latin America, we're just mixed people. We are from everywhere,
I
right?
know.
So if you do not really embrace that and find a strength in being diverse, you're gonna miss lots of opportunities, and we don't want that.
Absolutely. So I understand that you have just started your own technical podcast. So why did you feel that there is a need for it? Where will it be broadcasted? How every often? Can you say a few words about that?
We're still working on that. We need to build the infrastructure here on my end to start podcasting more professionally, but we are planning this. We have some people we plan to invite, but because I did not got their answer yet, I'm not gonna mention their names, because if they say no, then oh, you brought up their name on Linda's podcast. But we're gonna invite some people. But I think that we go back to the beginning of this conversation, because what happens is that Solicam it just happened that this was like one of those things in life we can't explain. Emil was, graduated as a civil engineer, never worked as a civil engineer, and deep dived on the CAD and 3D world and microprocessors, was a teacher, a Barlan, and then, formed Solicam. So, and it's very unique that, that civil engineer from Iraq got in love with manufacturing and kind of spent the
Absolutely.
last 45 years of his life enabling manufacturing, because that's what he's not in this for the money, even though you can say many people may not believe, because a company this big and this relevant in the cam industry say, of course he's it for the money. But if you know him in
No,
person, you will see that that's not true. He's in
no,
it
no. Let
for
me tell you, Daniel,
for
for Emil,
breaking the
it was never
barriers.
about the money. It was
Yeah.
always about just becoming number one in anything
Exactly. It's an energy that he emanates, and when
in the
you are
company. Yeah.
around him, it's very easy for you to see that he's not in this for the money. So, and Emil basically surrounded himself for the past 45, maybe 50 years with talent, with technical talent, brilliant people that help him to to build and sustain this company and go through several world crises and geopolitical issues, and the company had to adapt and survive, and adapt the strategy and the product line and everything. So and at this point, because Solicam is one of the last remaining companies that are still passionate about developing software and technology for manufacturing, not for the money, we need to, of course we need to make a profit. We need to keep our doors, open, and the business running. But that's not the major goal every day. The major goal is to really go where nobody went before.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
it means that we need to start to bring life to manufacturing again with this podcast that we are holding, talking about manufacturing between enthusiasts, between people that love it. Like I said, I have my strengths of as a manufacturing professional, but I also have my gaps. So that means if we bring someone, let's give you an example. We bring someone like Titan, for example, to talk to us in our podcast. That's going to be a conversation between a company that is very passionate about manufacturing and someone that is making a living from manufacturing, and there's enthusiasm in both ends, because the truth is that if you do not love manufacturing, you cannot survive, making a living from it. It's really
Absolutely.
important about put your heart on this, and the companies that are thriving, and we are, thank God. But all companies that are thriving today in the manufacturing world, they pour a lot of passion and commitment to manufacturing, and they do not always seek short-term returns, which is the primary goal of many of our competitors that are now these conglomerates that look at the things in quarterly periods. For SolidCAM, we are investing in things that people right now, uh, they they frown upon and say, "Really? Yeah." But we know what we're doing, and our leader knows what he's been doing for over 40 years. So there's a lot of confidence across the company that we are in the right direction.
Wow. Okay. So now you answered this question already, but I ask my all my interviewees the same question. How is it to work with Emil?
Emil is a sharp businessman. Otherwise, this company would not be here today. But he is, like I said, very passionate about this manufacturing thing. And I personally, I'll speak for myself. I see Emil as a peer in this journey that I have set for myself, um, to drive manufacturing forward. To go where nobody went before. And Emil is 1,000% about that. He's a visionary, and always like 5 years, 10 years ahead of us in what we are thinking. He can be very demanding, if you are not.
So it's okay.
I am. So for me, it's not a problem because I understand. I focus on the messaging, not in the messenger when I have to deal with this kind of things. So he can be very demanding if you do not understand what is the vision. But he's definitely supportive as well, even when you sometimes bring these crazy ideas that nobody wants to hear about. He's carefully listening. We spent like last week together in Aachen, and then he was talking to me, and then he said, "Hey, you see, for these guys, you cannot tell the whole story because they get bored, but for me, you can always tell the whole story because I love it." So this is the kind of guy he is. He likes the details, he likes the good stories, he likes to share his vision and to hear someone else's visions as well. And if he thinks that your vision and your interest are rooted in SolidCAM's best interest, he will support you all the way through, and he's gonna make the move mountains to get these things done. So for me, as an enthusiast of manufacturing, that I over the years I learned 8 CAM systems. Okay, so I
Wow,
know
really?
reasonably well 8 different CAM systems.
Really?
And when I look at the public space right now about CAM technology, it's very hard to find companies that have this kind of passion and that wants to leave a legacy, in manufacturing. Most of them are just after the profits now, which is sad because we all started together in the same place, but some of them were, absorbed by these large conglomerates, and with that, the passion and the drive for manufacturing and excellence uh, reduces.
Listen, he- Emil was always passionate. He
Mhm.
was always number one in whatever he did. In school, he was always number one. And whatever he tackles, he's number one. But let me tell you something. He is very excited that you came on. He really believes that you will take SolidCAM to new heights. Now that I'm talking to you, I feel your passion. So I'm really happy we had this conversation. And thank you for bringing your insights, and thank you. And so I guess we'll talk again. I would really like to talk to you again soon. And
Hmm.
I'm excited about your technical podcasts, and I'm sure have a lot of followers.
Yeah, there's a big chance that you'll be a guest on my podcast too.
Oh,
Okay.
for sure. But don't ask me anything technical.
No, I won't, because I kind of try to be this little guy uh, doing some journalism for the CAM industry as well, because I know so many stories of the last 50 years, and these stories they are getting lost. So that's why we are also holding this podcast to tell these stories from SolidCAM um, beginnings, and also maybe one day we could talk about also our competitors. We have a lot of admiration for them and for their stories as well. uh, so for me, it's not only about being technical, especially now that I have this, uh, position as SolidCAM Latam director. I need to devote a great part of myself to listening to people, to listening to their stories, and focus on the human side of the business as well. And telling stories about these companies and our journeys is a great way to understand the human factor better in our and make better decisions every day.
Great. Okay, so
Okay.
thank you, Danielle, for sharing your insights and your expertise. It's been a pleasure having you in my podcast. I think that's a wrap. And everybody tune in for my next podcast in 2 weeks. Thank you,
Thank you,
Danielle.
everyone.
Bye
It's
bye.
my pleasure. Bye bye.